Welcome to episode 1 of Rallotech Sports, Health, and Fitness Podcast. I want to piggyback on my introduction that I did. And this is a re recording from March 8, 2024. And just to give a better sound quality, I did hook up a proper microphone and we're going to give this another go. So take two. Piggybacking on the introduction to episode 1, just like to give some highlights of how basketball impact my life in a big way and continuing my journey now in 2024. This would make it good 24 years now where basketball, or 30 years now where basketball has really put the grassroots into the love that I had at 10 years old. So 31 years to be exact. I'm going to start off with how in high school from grade 8 to 11 where basketball really step up and be the saving grace for me, navigating through high school and choosing friends wisely and so on. So we're going to start off in grade 8 where I was now at a school that my older brother that I follow was going to, and got to the point where I was the new kid on the block. So you have that chance where you have to prove yourself. So coming into high school, met a few friends, which I think, these will be long life friends here, and we're gonna have like our own squad. And when you're young like that, you think that you're gonna be in this gang or whatever you want to put it as. But grade 8 was very eye-opening for me. I found out real soon that this was not the gang for me. This was not the people I want to hang out with. I definitely don't want these people to influence my life moving forward, because later on in life I realized this was the better path to take. And some people live with regret, but I can look back and say I'm glad that I didn't go down that road and I didn't subscribe to what the guys that I was hanging out with was doing. So saying that to say this, grade 8 was good, but it really opened my eyes to people that, they're bad influence for you, point blank period. And not to sugarcoat it or not to make it easy for people to listen to, they were just not good people to hang out with. And I learned that early on from grade 8 in high school. Going to a different school after, loving basketball 2 years prior, I learned real fast that basketball would definitely keep me out of trouble. It makes me meet a lot of people, because a lot of people know me as the kid that brings basketball to school instead of bringing soccer ball or whatever. I bring my basketball to school just like my son do right now. So it's very, I would say, heartwarming to see that, even the stuff that you used to do in school, your kids are doing the same thing and they love to come watch you play. So continuing on from, grade 8, got into grade 8 and started to hang out with a group of guys. They end up going to places that I shouldn't have been, but mercy of God, I was happy that, I opened my eyes real quick into what was going on, and real fast, like, you know what, I can't do this with you guys. I have to follow my own path. And I didn't even know that then, that I was following my own path, and realized real soon that these guys end up being expelled. They're no longer at the high school in grade 8. And, this was altercation that happened when I was not present. So I heard after the fact what happened. And I'm happy that those guys didn't get put in jail. But however, they got real close and put it in jail in grade 8. So I was happy that I wasn't a part of that crowd when that happened. Moving from grade 8 to grade 9, I realized even more that, I am going to make an impact on this school. I'm going to be one of those guys that when I go back to that school, and I was thinking whenever I get to go back and take my kids there, I'm going to show them where I used to play basketball. And funny enough, little backstory from grade 8 to grade 9, I realized that they will never build a basketball court for that high school. I will have to, play basketball on a netball court. And for my audience that knows what a netball court is, you know how difficult that is because there's no backboard banking a shot and so on. So real difficult to play basketball on a netball court. So I realized real fast you have to be a sharp shooter. And, when you make a good shot, it's going to go in, and that's cash. It's really interesting to see how much when you're playing on a netball court, you learn to shoot properly, or you're going to shoot a lot of air ball when you have an audience watching you. So that was grade 8, grade 9. Grade, say, 9 to 10, I was still every lunchtime playing basketball on the netball court. We had a group of people that came into the high school at between those grades. They transitioned from other schools to the high school I was going to. And I realized that these guys love to play basketball. So through me playing basketball on the netball court, me and these guys click. We started playing ball together. One of the guys, I'm pretty sure that guy was 7 feet tall. But it was good competition because I was way shorter and I would still make shots over him. I didn't know about the skyhook, but I know I could shoot a rainbow shot. For all of my true basketball fans, you know what rainbow shot is. So you'd have to shoot a rainbow shot over a giant. And to be honest with you, it really built the confidence to shoot over a taller player because it wasn't easy. If you don't shoot it properly, you will get blocked because you have to be precise and make your shot. I played grade, I would say 9 to 10, 10 to 11 with those core group of guys. We had audience watching us every lunchtime for, I would say, 3.5 years, give or take. And it was so refreshing to see, I wasn't an alumni or, a varsity basketball player, but I felt like it in my spirit that I could draw a crowd and get everybody from my grade all the way up to like senior grade to watch us play basketball. And through those 3 years, it just shows how more and more how basketball can let you be one of those people that get recognized that, that's a basketball player from so-and-so. And I was really impressed that a lot of people that I don't even remember their name, they remember that, oh yeah, I used to play basketball on the court with this guy. And it was, was a blessing to say, even if I should be in a sticky situation and those people would see me, they'll be like, yo, you can't mess with this guy. This guy is a real one. He's one of our basketball players that play on the netball court at my high school that I went to during those time period. And I must say, looking back now on what I used to do as a teen, it was very, very inspiring because I didn't go into certain crowd. I was the odd man out. I really felt like the odd man out. And other than the guys that I play ball with, those were my group of guys. They didn't get in trouble. Those guys actually had good grades in school. And they were one of the few guys that I could actually rap with. In other words, I could actually kick it with. And know that at the end of the day, I'll make it home to go see my parents. Because these guys are not troublemaker. They're not going out to look trouble. And they're not like, we call them Jamaican rude boy in that culture growing up. So needless to say, it was really good to have those core group of guys. I would say it's about 7 to 8 group of guys. So it'd be an annual 4-on-4 during lunchtime on the basketball court for the grade 9, 10, and 11 in my high school. And it was really good to know that you have those guys that you almost like you go into battle with, and they're really helpful enough to steer you the right way, and they were more focused on their education than getting some baddies on the street, or you know go off into the bush and skip class and all of that stuff. These guys actually wanted to stay in school, wanted to get a good grade, wanted to graduate high school. So needless to say, I really appreciate those guys. I can't remember all of their names, but I can tell you this: I remember it like yesterday. These guys were guys that I used to love playing ball with, and even today, there's still core group of guys that I play ball with, play ball against for the spirit of competition. Those group of guys really build that character from an early age until now, and I can say that looking back, it really built my character as a basketball player, and I can't speak enough about how much that kind of impact my life, steer me in a better path, didn't bring me down the path where I'm following people just to be a part of something, and steer down the path of, being on the run from the law or whatever the case may be. It's a woulda, coulda, shoulda type of idea. And I'm happy that I didn't have to live that life experience, because now I can honestly say to my kids, like, I was popular in high school for the right reason, not for the wrong reason. And it wasn't, what you call it, I think one of the phrases here that I've learned is sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It was one of those things that got me popular in high school. It was one of the things that actually let me use sports as a way to be popular. And I'm one of the guys that they know every day, lunchtime, come 12 o'clock, this guy will be on the court warming up, ready to battle other high school guys that, will play against. And it was really refreshing to know that those guys back then was, I would say, one of the best competition I had as a high school basketball player, even though we didn't have a basketball team, but we still played ball like, it was game 7 in the NBA finals. So needless to say, those guys were gems. It was so good to know that you have those type of characters. Some of them really play basketball like they're playing rugby or American football, because you get tackled hard if you think you're gonna cross them over, or nowadays they call it breaking their ankles. No, that wasn't gonna happen. You have to beat them ISO basketball and one-on-one for you to beat them to the rack. And again, you have to be precise on making your shot, because if you miss, the whole school that's watching you playing basketball gonna know that you made an ear ball over a 7-foot player, or a player that, probably the same height as you, but he has better defense than you. So it was good competition back then. Fast forward into like the last year of I would say high school. I remember it was one of those times where I was like, all right, what can I really do after high school? Can I really take this to the next level? Can I really make it to college? Is it a possibility for me to make it to college? Like, can I really go for a run where I'm gonna have an agent and all that you'd see on TV for what I would see as basketball players just leaving high school and go to the NBA? In my deepest thoughts, I thought that was possible, because I know all the greats back then did it, and it was a possibility to just skip college and go. But I was like, a good college education would help as well. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to still play basketball, but I'm going to get a job where I can save up enough money. And tourism back in Jamaica, it was a thing to make U.S. currency. So if you save up enough U.S. currency, you can at least start your first semester of college and figure it out from there. That was the game plan. After high school, grade 11, these were the thoughts I had. Like, I'm going to make it to college. Little did I know, as easy as I thought it was in my head, it wasn't as easy as I thought it would be, because I realized real fast you're going to have to work a whole bunch of years, save up a whole bunch of money, and who knows if you're going to love basketball enough to try to make it out to college at 22, 23, 24 after high school. And I didn't know what was going to happen, but life to me back then was a game of chance. So you have a chance to make it, or you have a chance to not make it. So I was like, I'm going to bet on me. I'm going to get a good job that will pay me well, and hopefully this job will transpire into where I save up enough money working in tourism and I can make it to my first semester in college. It was graduation ended in June of 2020, and it was time to, no, correction. I'm speeding ahead to the future. 2000 was when I graduated high school, and it was like, all right, it's time to buckle down and get to work. It was more of a get a trade, get a job. You can work in the industry of tourism, save up enough money from tips, and you'll make your first semester in college. I was doing the two things that I set out to do, but there's not enough saving I could do in the world back then to make that first semester to make it to college in even 5 years. 60 months I would never make it to college off all the savings that I could hide it under a rock or whatever. I could not save up enough money. When I got my first trade job completed and start working in tourism, thankfully I was working at the airport, so I see people travel in and out, and I was like, all right, one of these days Rollin is going on the Ironbird. I'm going to make it on the Ironbird. And mind you, every night after finishing work, finishing school, there would be me on the basketball court practicing, working on my craft, telling myself, if I save up enough money, I'll make it to the NBA. I keep telling myself that, and I've never doubt in my mind that I would make it. But after saving up, I would say equivalent to like back then $1,000 US. I was like, yeah, maybe this will do it. I think I have enough save up. But being a young naive teenager, at 18 going on 19, didn't realize, oh hey, you need a little bit more than that to even make it to your first semester. Because I later found out, for me to make it to my first semester of college back then, because that was a pipe dream, I would need at least $32,000 US to make my first semester. And back in those times, I think that was equivalent to like close to $1 million Jamaican. That was just for my first semester. And, maybe my numbers are off. I would have to do more research on it, but I did the calculation after 5 years of working in the tourism industry, and it wasn't even close to what I had saved up. I would say, in general, if I should go back down memory lane, I saved up probably around $6,000 US working at the airport and saving my tips, and it wasn't even scratching the surface of doing my first 2 weeks in college. So I realized early on that, hey, even though this might not span out, still take a shot at it and see where it will take you. And lo and behold, when I came to the point where I got a visa, because that's the way to leave Jamaica, travel to Canada instead of the US, and, work for a good 6 months, save up a lot of money, thinking that, oh yeah, I can apply it for a college. For my first 3 months, which would be the semester of my first week of college, was $1.7 million. So that's how I got that number, that it would be about 32,000 back then to do my first semester of college as an international student. And I was like, unless I'm going to go win the lottery or something like that, I couldn't afford to do 4 years of college on the income I was making from the airport. So when I got back to Jamaica 5 years later, after high school, 5.5 years later to be exact, I realized that, hey, when you travel, it gives you some insight on what you can do to make it outside of this pyramid that they had in school, teaching me that, oh yeah, if you study hard enough, if you do this, you'll make it. But if you don't have the proper business model, in my mind, you wouldn't have make it off my small little thought process in making it to college and making it to the NBA or a higher elite level of basketball. How much I love basketball. I really thought I was going to make it to college by working in tourism and save up money and make it that way. But you get to realize real quick that, you know what? it might not be the only way to do it. And I'm not trying to throw shade on college basketball or NBA. It's just one thing that I wanted to do because I've seen other people with my skin color went through the program, made it to the elite basketball level where they play college ball, and then they moved on to NBA, and some of them are still in the NBA today. LeBron James was one of the guys that I watched after my idol Michael kind of retired from basketball, and Kobe was one of the guys I watched too. And I was admiring how, for example, Kobe Bryant, Tracy McGrady, and so many others that didn't go through the college system. LeBron James would be in that category as well. They didn't go through the college system. They left high school. They were good enough. They made it to the NBA and made their mark. So I'm not throwing shade on the NBA. However, for me, a little, Jamaican boy from Mayal, St. James, growing up right outside of Montego Bay, I wanted to make it to that level too. But again, I was just dreaming big. Didn't know what was going to happen. Didn't know if I was ever going to make it. So when I finally realized that, you know what, you might need to aim for something else because, you're getting older. You're not going to make it to the NBA. Just see if you can have fun with what you love. Start playing city basketball. So when I went back to Jamaica 5.5 years later, after coming to Canada 5 years after high school, I met the woman of my dream, which in my next episode, I would like to introduce my lovely wife, Christine Morris. And from the love of basketball, I would say this: you never know who you're gonna meet, and when you meet somebody that, they kind of put that spark back in you that you fell in love with basketball from age 10. You don't sleep on that. That's my one advice for anybody that's trying to follow their dream or trying to follow a passion of theirs. It doesn't have to be basketball, but just sports in general. I met my wife through basketball, through playing basketball on the riggy little court that I talked about. And it was 3 years before I kind of started dating my wife. I met her on the basketball court. Real talk. So I'm going to give a little bit more into when I kind of gave up on the playing college ball and, following that dream, because the love of my life kind of came in and said, hey, you want to look at a different perspective, because it's not, looking at it from a different angle is not a bad idea, but, you can still do what you love to do, just in a different realm. And I have to say that was an eye-opener for me. And it really put into perspective where, traveling to Canada, realizing that, working night and day, earning, I would say minimum wage here just to make a pipe dream come through. God, he knows where I would be. So I have to say, with my spouse kind of showing me that, hey, maybe you should look into XYZ to see if this would be something that you could pursue. And I would have to say Christine kind of steered me in a different direction, because in my heart of heart, I think that I was going to make it to the NBA. And when I realized that, hey, you want to look at it a different angle. Not saying that if it does happen, it was always a plan, but go at it at a different angle. Look at it on a different axis. So if it does happen, but it happened in a different way, it's the same destination. So I have to give her props for that. And in my next podcast, I would really like to introduce her, talk about little things that we've done with basketball. And, she's done a way more traveling than I do, so she has like a lot to unpack if she desired to do so. But I'd like to introduce my spouse and mother of my child. We've been together for a umpteen amount of years, but I'd like to unpack that in the next podcast. And lastly, before I kind of end episode 1 here, I have to say my journey in basketball is still ongoing, and there's a lot more things to unpack where basketball has been like my daily therapy. I would say that much. So stay tuned, and thank you again for tuning in. And I look forward in sending out episode 3 this week. We're now at March 18. Just celebrated my birthday yesterday, and 31 years playing basketball is no small joke here. So I must say I have enough experience I can speak on this. And for all my listeners, all my audience here, I thank you very much for tuning in. And just some background little info for who wants to know. My high school in Jamaica was Cambridge Comprehensive High School. As I mentioned earlier, I did grade 8 to 11, which is my stint of high school, and then move on to trade school, which was Kenilworth, where I did bartender waiter. So I was a bartender waiter for years, and kind of that's how I got into working at the airport. So, which is MBJ in Jamaica. So just added info to the podcast so you guys can know. But again, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate your guys' time. Smash the like button. Leave a comment. I welcome your feedback. And yeah, I look forward in bringing on my wife for the next podcast and giving that testimony into how basketball brought me to the love of my life. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. And Rollo out.